We clap for the composition, the music, the words, and the gifts offered with great passion by our minister of music and choir. Three angels, elder angel, teen angel, can you hear me? Littlest angel. Paul Carl, a member of the indigenous nation of Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe, on whose land we sit now at Chalmers, spoke here last week to us, naming that the source of wisdom in their tradition, and he reminded us that it is biblical tradition. It arises from every age level. Listen to the littlest baby from the point of birth who is uncluttered by education, uncluttered by being formed as a particular person of a nation. Listen to the teenager who is moving through and from there into culture. Listen to the elders who are going back to their source of wisdom. I love that expression. It is expressed to us today. I was a little late getting in here. If I hadn't made a snow angel at my place in front of my car and got snow all down my neck, and it melted, and I thought, enough of this, I would have got here earlier. Try it. Live this. The bulletin cover, if you haven't done it in 50 years. It used to be a very compelling and silly notion, angels. We still strap wings on children, let them run around at Christmas time. Don't take them too seriously. Of course, we know that angels and guardian angels has become an industry. Books, daily reading cards, you name it. But for millennia, the angel, or the angelos, that's where it comes from, simply a Greek word that we've anglicized from angelos to angel, which means a messenger. Someone, something that brings a message from outside of our experience, outside of ourselves, into our experience here. Those things, angels, were as real as the people next door. I think they were for my grandparents. Angels, you will notice when you will, of course, read at least Luke chapter 2, the whole Christmas story from his perspective, which was what we were singing. You'll notice that in the Christmas story, all the messages, all the cues and the clues of what to do next in the whole journey of Mary and Joseph and the birth of Christ comes from angel. No one speaks, it's the angel. Or, to a lesser extent, it's in the dream. It either comes deep from within, in the subrational, or it comes from far, far out into our experience. Nothing of daily encounter influences or has anything to do with the circumstances of the birth of Jesus the Christ. I love that. This story is special. It's our story. And we are the stewards of it. And as well as believe in it, we live it. Angels have one purpose: communication. That's it. And isn't it interesting that communication is the one thing we all want. I think just on a everyday level here at Chalmers, with our movement into shared ministry with Sydenham Street, so many people, so many of us are saying, lack of communication. We just don't have enough communication. We want lots of communication, even in our lives, in relationships. Communication. If we had the right and perfect communication, well then, a lot of psychotherapists would be out of business, wouldn't they? Marriage counselors, they'd be out of business if we knew how to communicate and got it. We want it, we need it. There's nothing nicer to be spoken to be spoken with. Nothing more meaningful than to be actually heard. That someone actually listens to me. Think about it. There's nothing more wonderful than to know that that has happened. You have been heard, you've been listened to, and your communication has been received, and you have received the communication of another. Words of power. All the characters of the nativity scene, every one of them there. How did they get there? They were communicated with, given direction. Their GPS was angelic, or it came from dream life. That's why Christmas has a magic quality. We want to get out there into that dimension and be communicated with beyond ourselves. You know, the Voyager space module that was sent out, I think it was 1978. Well, that one has now gone past our solar system. It's the first human object that's ever left our solar system. Well, my point is that on the side of it, in order to communicate with any supposed intelligent life in the future, as long as that intelligent life has a record player with an arm on it, there is a gold record of human sounds and all kinds of pictures and things on the side of Voyager. Looks really funny. You got the spacecraft with a gold record on it flying out. We want to communicate, and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence been going on for decades at NASA, at JPL. SETI, speak to us from outside of ourselves. We have so many conceptions of angels. They're always incredible, aren't they? And you know what the major feature is, and it was even spoken of here. Wings. Read the Bible again for the first time. No such thing. It comes from art. It comes from other religions. We picked up the winged angels out of Babylon, Zoroastrianism. That's where the winged God comes from. Jews picked it up when they were in exile in Babylon. But there aren't any winged angels in Scripture. They're always much more sophisticated. It's we who make the little cute cherubs and all that stuff, right? Artists in the Middle Ages. You see them in the Uffizi Museum all over the place. These little beautiful, bare-bummed winged angels. Angelic of Scripture is an ephemeral, transcendent, luminescent, just beyond the barrier that separates materiality, physicality with spirituality. And the message crosses over, and the message is given. Beautiful. But the angels of Scripture are for those of us with 3D carbon-based unit brains who aren't used to dealing with multidimensional life, the infinite dimensions of God. We personify the message into a Gabriel. Right? God is my strength. Gabriel. Let's think about the teen angel. Mark Kingwell is a 40-something professor of philosophy at the University of Toronto right now. He wrote a book, Dreams of Millennium, and in there he talks about essentially all the people who are involved in Frost Week. He talks about tattooing and piercing and what he calls extreme decoration. That people are making an incarnational statement when the body has a message permanently put into the flesh. That to go through the flesh with piercing is to make a statement that this is my incarnation and I will express this in the way I want to or wish to. Our angel today said, I'm somewhere in the middle between black and white, boy or girl, angel and human. I'm an androgynous fusion in an urban, dystopian landscape of nightmares. Did you hear that? Well, the angel's voice can be sweet and lilty. But that's what this angel said. That sound familiar? Kingwell, as well as Thomas Berry, the late great ecological theologian, called the world inherited by teens generation, he called it a technozoic, as if it's a new geological age, a technozoic waste world that has been created by, as you said, those who look without seeing, who hear without listening, who touch without feeling. We hear a few reports of that these days around sexual abuse, don't we? Who touch without feeling. Who pave paradise and put up a parking lot everywhere, where compassion is out of fashion. Folks who have no sacred enlivening text anymore, but search the graffiti-covered alleyways and die the death of 1,000 memos at work, searching for a message and for direction in life. Their yearning is what the wings are. It's a yearning to fly to what St. Augustine in the 4th century said, from the city of humanity to the city of God. And there are so many unloved angels out there with broken wings, with halos around their ankles, and have forgotten what their original message was and is when they came into the world. I had to read over the angel parts about 4 times to even understand what they were saying. That's what the teen angel's saying. The elder angel's confirming it. And the littlest angel is yearning for it. Where's my wings? There was an angel of sorts back about the years when the wings on a god or a messenger were being able to be understood, and that's about 600 years before the Common Era, in the days of a 20-something prophet named Isaiah. Isaiah is the inspiration for that United Church anthem, that hymn that has been sung so much, "Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. Call me. I will go," sort of thing. The call to be the messenger, the prophet, the angel to the people. But one thing we regularly don't look at whenever we hear of the call of Isaiah or the call of God or the great message to fulfill the vision of God is that later in the chapter, in Isaiah 6, Isaiah has said, "Here I am, send me." Beautiful. And then he walks away, and something dawns on him. And he says, it's a very human question. Yes, I'm called, and I am going to follow and bring your message, but by the way, how long do I have to do this? Isaiah said yes to the contract before he had heard the job description. So much for holy Isaiah. He wants to come back. It's not unconditional. I want the terms. How long am I going to have to slug it out to bring this vision of peace and harmony into reality? Do I have to remain faithful to this relationship and to all the commitments I've made, for heaven's sakes? Well, God says, how long? This long. You are to be remaining faithful to your calling, to the message you are to give, until you find yourself living in an urban nightmare. What? Until people all around you will have spiritual lives that are like an uninhabited wilderness. Worship will be surface and just a form. But depth, it'll be deep as a dime, which will be about the size of the offerings. There will be no engagement. How long? The angel, you keep bringing this message until people are only listening to noise, to gossip, and they do not sing the song of their lives anymore because they know no praises to sing. Until people believe they can define themselves without me. Until people believe that they can even define their church without me. Until people live without any spiritual roots or transcendent purpose. How long? You remain faithful until you are in a situation where a sense of shared, past, handed down beauty is going to be reduced to simply the last episode of Star Wars, which has begun this weekend, my friends, or the tragedy of Calgary losing the Grey Cup. You see, what is a sense of past history shared? That level, that silliness. How long do I have to stick with this calling until generations of children not only do not believe, but they are invisible and not here? Imagine that, written 600 BC. Maybe we could change the generational cycle here and end that. God says, this angel, this is the wilderness where God asks the church to minister today. You know, Isaiah is so depressed, he sees himself then trudging across a depressing landscape of global drought. And he said, why did I say yes to this? Why did I vote for this? And as he's going along, and I bet you haven't even read this before, but it's there. Isaiah stubs his toe on a stump. And the stump is where the roots are. And he stumbles on a piece of wood that looks dead, but it has a green bud on it. A pathetic sign of hope that's going to grow. And he takes that little tiny bit of hope that has made his toe hurt. And he knows the roots reach down deeply into the living water that eye cannot see. He can't see it. But the bud. For St. Paul, is the bud he speaks of as the one that grows into the cross of Christ. The stumbling block for some, but the wisdom of God for us. The wisdom that the angel brings. The light of lights at Christmas. Look for it. Look up for the promised signs of hope on which to stub our toes. Look for the unexpected person, the voice, the place, or the form, especially the child. We want wisdom. We want to know the direction. Our church must have angels who are the littlest, the teeniest, the oldest. They must be here. Words from Pete Seeger, the late great. We all go to different churches or no churches at all. We have different and favorite foods, and we have different ways of making love. We have different ways of doing all sorts of things. But the promise is when we listen to the message of love, we are all going to sing together the hope of the future. And in the singing, we will live it. We are grateful for our singers who sing the reign of God and the imminent birth of our hope in Christ into being today. Hear the angel. Amen. What child is this? A favorite carol, number 74.